3,000 years ago, the galaxy learned to fear humans. They came out of a small blue planet called Earth, and within a single century, they had spread to 3 star systems. They built ships faster than anyone thought possible. They learned. They adapted. They grew. The Galactic Council watched with worried eyes. 12 ancient species had ruled the galaxy for 100,000 years. They had seen young races rise before. They had crushed them all. But humans were different. Humans did not fight like others. They fought with a fire that burned too bright, a madness that made them dangerous beyond their numbers. War seemed certain. The Council prepared their fleets. 10,000 ships gathered at the border of human space, ready to end this new threat before it could grow stronger. But then something unexpected happened. A human woman named Park Yuna came to the Council. She was small and soft-spoken, with gentle eyes and a calm voice. She did not threaten. She did not beg. She simply talked. "We do not want war," she told the 12 leaders of the galaxy. "We have seen enough death on our own world. We know what we are. We know what we can become if pushed. Let us find another way." The Council laughed at first. This small creature thought she could negotiate with the masters of 1,000,000 worlds? But Park Yuna was patient. She talked for days, then weeks, then months. In the end, she gave them an offer they did not expect. Humanity would stop expanding. They would stay in their corner of the galaxy. They would not interfere with Council business. They would become ghosts, forgotten by the rest of the universe. In exchange, the Council would agree to one simple law, one rule that could never be broken. No child of any race would ever be harmed or taken. Not human children. Not Council children. No children at all, the Council agreed. They thought they had one. They thought they had caged a dangerous animal. They called it the Accord of Silence, and they celebrated their wisdom. Park Yuna returned to human space. She never spoke to the Council again. But before she left, she said something strange to High Counselor Vrethkai's ancestor. "Remember this day," she said. "Remember that we chose peace. And pray that no one ever makes us choose differently." 3,000 years passed. The galaxy forgot about humans. They became stories, legends, myths. Some young species did not even believe they existed. The Council grew comfortable. They ruled their 1,000,000 worlds and never thought about the quiet corner of the galaxy, where humanity lived in silence. Admiral Kong Do-yan had spent 40 years at the border. His station, called Eternal Watch, floated in the darkness between human space and the rest of the galaxy. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. Every day he looked out at the stars and saw nothing. No Council ships ever came close. No one cared about humans anymore. His crew called it the most boring job in the fleet. Kong Do-yan never corrected them. He knew the truth. He knew what waited in the hidden places of human space, sleeping, waiting, preparing. His job was not to fight. His job was to watch and pray that he never had to send the signal. On the colony world of New Busan, life was simple and good. Farmers grew crops under an orange sun. Children played in green fields. Families lived and laughed and loved, just as humans had done for thousands of years. Han Murray was 73 years old. She spent her days in her garden, growing flowers that reminded her of Earth, a planet she had never seen but still called home in her heart. Her grandson, a boy of 9 named Han Juno, helped her plant seeds every morning before school. "Grandmother," he asked one day, "why do we never leave our worlds?" "My teacher says there is a whole galaxy out there." Murray smiled and touched his hair gently. "Because we made a promise, little one. A long time ago, we promised to stay here and be peaceful. And humans always keep their promises." "But what if someone breaks their promise to us?" Murray's smile faded just a little. "Then we keep a different kind of promise." The boy did not understand. He was too young. But Murray remembered the stories her grandmother had told her. Stories of what humans could do when they were pushed. Stories that made her proud and afraid at the same time. The Council research vessel arrived on New Busan without warning. It landed in the capital city. and soldiers in strange armor marched out. They said they were conducting a study. They said it was approved by the Galactic Council. They said humans had no right to refuse. The people of New Busan were confused. No council ship had come to their world in 3,000 years. They did not know what to do. They called their government. They asked questions. They tried to be polite. The soldiers did not wait for answers. They went to schools. They went to homes. They took children. 14 children were loaded onto the research vessel. Han Juno was one of them. Lee Soman, an 8-year-old girl with bright eyes, was another. They cried and screamed for their parents. The soldiers did not care. Lead scientist Kethmera watched from the ship with satisfaction. Her people, the Veluxi, had always been curious about humans. How did they evolve so fast? How did they adapt to any world? The answers must be in their biology, in their brains, in their genes. And children were the perfect subjects. Their minds were still growing. Their secrets would be easier to find. The council will reward us greatly, she told her assistant. We will finally understand the human mystery. But the accord, her assistant said nervously. It says we cannot harm children. Kethmara waved her hand dismissively. The accord is ancient history. Humans are farmers now, merchants. They have forgotten how to fight. They will complain to the council, and the council will ignore them, as they always do. The ship lifted off from New Busan. The parents watched it rise into the sky, taking their children away. They stood in silence, tears falling from their eyes, far away. At the edge of human space, Admiral Kong Doyan received a message. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood. Then, for the first time in 40 years, he sent the signal. Deep beneath mountains, doors began to open. Ships that had slept for centuries powered up their engines. Soldiers who had trained their whole lives for a day they hoped would never come put on their armor. Humanity was waking up, and the galaxy would learn why the accord had been written in the first place. Captain Li Yuan was eating dinner with her husband when her communicator beeped. She looked at the message and her face went pale. Her fork fell from her hand and hit the plate with a loud noise. "What is it?" her husband asked. "Soman," she whispered. They took Soman. Her daughter was on New Busan, visiting her grandmother for the summer. Now she was gone, taken by aliens who had broken a promise 3,000 years old. Jiwan's hands began to shake, not from fear. From something much older, something that lived in the heart of every human parent. She stood up from the table. Her husband saw the look in her eyes and knew that nothing he said would stop her. "Bring her home," he said simply. Guan nodded and walked out the door. Within an hour, she was on her ship, the Silent Fury. Within 2 hours, she had received her orders. Within 3 hours, she was flying toward the border at speeds that should have been impossible. The news spread across human space like fire. Not through official channels. Not through government announcements. It spread through families. Through friends. Through the ancient networks that humans had built over thousands of years. A grandmother called her son. A father messaged his brother. A child told her classmates. They took our children. On every human world, people stopped what they were doing. Farmers left their fields. Workers left their jobs. Students left their schools. They gathered in squares and parks, looking up at the sky, waiting for someone to tell them what to do, on the capital world of Nova Sol. President Cho Yoonji stood before a camera. She was a small woman with gray hair and a kind face. She had been president for 12 years, and in all that time, she had never needed to make a speech like this. Behind her stood the flags of all human worlds, symbols of a civilization that had chosen peace for 3,000 years. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice calm and steady. "You have heard the news. A council ship landed on New Busan. They took 14 of our children. They believed we would do nothing. They believed we had forgotten who we are." She paused and looked directly into the camera. They were wrong. In homes and buildings across human space, people leaned forward to listen. 3,000 years ago, we made a choice. We chose peace. We chose to stay in our corner of the galaxy and build something beautiful. We raised families. We created art. We lived good lives. But we never forgot. We never stopped preparing for the day when someone would break the accord. Her voice grew harder, though it never rose above a calm tone. That day has come. The Council has broken their promise. They have touched our children, and now they will learn what that means. Deep beneath the mountains of the fortress world called BD-2 Prime, General Yoon Tai-woo walked through halls that had not seen light in centuries. Dust covered the floors. Old machines hummed as they woke from their long sleep. He was a large man, tall and strong, with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. His family had guarded this place for 20 generations. His father had walked these halls. His grandfather. His great-grandfather. All of them waiting for a moment they hoped would never come. Now it had come, and Yoon Tai-woo felt something he had never expected to feel. Relief. The doors before him opened, and he saw them. Ships. Thousands of ships. Weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Technology that humanity had developed in secret. In hidden shipyards, inside hollow moons, in laboratories beneath frozen planets, in places the Council had never thought to look. They watched us for 3,000 years, Yoon Tai-woo said to his officers. They saw farming ships, trading vessels, passenger transports. They saw what we wanted them to see. Touched the hull of a warship called the Thunder of Earth. It was beautiful and terrible. A machine built for one purpose. They never saw this. Captain Shin Hae-hoon led the first fleet across the border. She was young for her rank, only 32 years old, but her family had defended humanity for generations. Her great-grandmother had been the last human to kill an alien in combat. 3,000 years ago, in the final battle before the Accord, Shin Hae-hoon had grown up hearing stories about that battle. She had trained her whole life, knowing that someday she might need to fight again. Now that day had come, and she felt ready. Her fleet moved in complete silence. The ships used technology that the Council had never seen, engines that left no trace, shields that hid them from every sensor. 63 warships crossed into Council space, and no one knew they were coming. On the Council's capital station, High Counselor Rethkai received reports about the incident on New Busan. He was annoyed but not worried. The humans would complain. They would send angry messages. Eventually, they would accept that the Council was more powerful and go back to their quiet lives. Have the humans responded? He asked his assistant. Yes, High Counselor. They sent one message. What did it say? The assistant looked uncomfortable. It said, "Return our children." Rethkai laughed. That's all? No threats? No demands? No, High Counselor. Just those 3 words. Foolish creatures. They have become weak. 3,000 years of peace has made them soft. He waved his hand dismissively. Ignore them. Let the scientists finish their research. Far across the galaxy, on New Busan, Han Mai-rae sat in her garden. Her grandson was gone, taken by aliens who thought they could do whatever they wanted. Her neighbors had come to comfort her, but she did not cry. She did not scream. She simply smiled. Grandmother, one neighbor said carefully, "Are you all right?" "I am fine," Mai-rae said. "I am remembering." Remembering what? The old woman looked up at the sky, where the Council ship had disappeared hours ago. "I am remembering the stories my grandmother told me. About what we are. About what we can do." Her smile grew wider, and there was something fierce in her old eyes. "Those aliens think they know us. They have watched us for 3,000 years, and they think they understand." She picked up a flower and held it gently. "They don't know anything, but they will learn. Very soon, they will learn." The first Council patrol ship detected the human fleet 3 days later. The captain sent a warning message, demanding that the humans identify themselves and turn back. The response came in the form of a single shot that disabled his engines. "Commander," Shin Hae-hoon's voice came through the communication channel. Calm and cold. "We are humanity. We have come for our children. Get out of our way, or we will move you." The war had begun. The Council research vessel, Enlightened Purpose, moved slowly toward the core worlds. Lead scientist Kethmara was pleased with the journey so far. The human children were healthy and cooperative, mostly because they had been too afraid to cause trouble. She had already collected blood samples and brain scans. The results were fascinating. Their neural patterns are extraordinary, she told her team. They process information differently than any species we have studied. This explains why they adapt so quickly. Her assistant, a young Veluxi named Tethron, looked at the children through the observation window. They were huddled together in a white room, holding each other for comfort. The youngest was crying quietly. They seem so small, Tethron said. Are you sure this research is worth the risk? Kethmara laughed. What risk? The humans are farmers. They haven't fought a war in 3,000 years. By the time they complain to the Council, our research will be complete, and we will be heroes. We will have unlocked the secrets of human evolution. But the Accord was written by scared politicians who believed human propaganda. Look at them now, she pointed at the children. They are weak, fragile. They are not the terrifying warriors of legend. They are just another species, and we will learn everything about them. In the White Room, 8-year-old Lee Soman held the hand of Han Juno, the boy she had met on New Busan. Both of them were scared, but Soman tried to be brave. Her mother was a ship captain. Her mother had taught her that fear was normal, but giving up was not. My mom will come, Salman whispered to Juno. She always comes. How do you know? The boy asked. Because she promised. And my mom never breaks promises. Far behind them, Commander Shin Hai-hoon's fleet tore through Council space like a knife through water. They moved so fast that the Council's detection systems could barely track them. Every patrol that tried to stop them was disabled within seconds. Their weapons and engines destroyed with perfect accuracy. The humans did not kill. They did not need to. Every shot was precise, designed to remove threats without taking lives. It was more terrifying than destruction would have been. It showed control. It showed power that had been refined over 3,000 years of secret preparation. Hi, Counselor Vrethkai. Finally understood the danger when reports flooded into the capital station. 63 human ships had crossed into Council territory. They had disabled 30 patrol vessels. They were heading directly toward the core worlds. This is impossible, he said, staring at the tactical display. Where did these ships come from? Our observers reported that humans only had merchant vessels and farming transports. His military advisor, a gray-skinned Korthan named General Mostek, shook his head slowly. We were deceived, High Counselor. For 3,000 years we watched them and saw nothing. They wanted us to see nothing. Mobilize the fleet. All of it. Every ship from every member species. The order went out across the galaxy. 10,000 warships from 12 species gathered to face the human threat. It was the largest military force the Council had assembled in 100,000 years. On the human flagship Thunder of Earth, General Yun Tai-woo watched the enemy fleet form. His officers stood around him, waiting for orders. 10,000 ships, one officer said. They outnumber us nearly 200 to 1, Yun Tai-woo nodded calmly. They do, sir. How can we possibly win? The general smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Let me tell you something about our ancestors. 10,000 years ago, humans fought wars on Earth with swords and spears. A small group of soldiers, well-trained and well-led, could defeat armies 10 times their size. Do you know why? The officers shook their heads. Because numbers mean nothing against superior tactics, superior technology, and superior will. The Council has numbers. We have 3,000 years of preparation. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the enemy fleet. His voice echoed across space, reaching every Council ship. This is General Yun Tai-woo of the Human Defense Force. You have taken our children. Return them now, and you may leave in peace. Refuse, and you will learn why our ancestors wrote the Accord. High Counselor Vethkai's response came quickly. Humans, you are outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender your ships, and we will consider mercy. Your children will be returned after our research is complete. General Yunteyuv closed the channel without answering. He looked at his officers. They want to negotiate. They think we are afraid. He shook his head slowly. They still don't understand. This is not a negotiation. This is a rescue mission. And nothing in this galaxy will stop us from bringing our children home. The battle began. The Council fleet advanced in perfect formation, thousands of ships moving together like a wall of steel. Their weapons charged. Their shields activated. They expected the small human fleet to retreat or surrender. The humans did neither. The thunder of Earth fired first. A single beam of light crossed the void and struck the lead Council battleship. The ship's shields flickered and died. Its weapons went offline. Its engines stopped. Before the Council could react, the human fleet attacked from every direction. They moved faster than anything the Council had ever seen, appearing and disappearing, striking and retreating. Every shot hit its target. Every target was disabled, not destroyed. 9 minutes. That was how long the battle lasted. In 9 minutes, 400 Council ships were floating dead in space. Their crews were alive, but helpless. Watching in horror as the human fleet continued forward without slowing, General Mostek stared at his tactical display, his gray face pale with shock. "They didn't kill anyone," he whispered. "They could have destroyed us. They chose not to." High Counselor Vrethkai's hands were shaking. "What are they?" "They are exactly what the Accord said they were," Mostek replied. "They are the reason our ancestors chose peace 3,000 years ago, and we were fools to forget." On New Busan, Han Mai-rei watched the news with her neighbors. Reports of the battle spread across every channel. The Council's mighty fleet broken in 9 minutes. No human ships lost. No human soldiers killed. Her neighbors were cheering, but Mai-rei remained quiet. She understood what this moment meant. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The peace they had built for 3,000 years was over. "Is this a good thing, grandmother?" a young woman asked her. Mai-rei thought about her grandson, somewhere on that research ship, waiting to be rescued. "I don't know," she said honestly. "But I know this. They should not have touched our children. Whatever comes next, they brought it on themselves." The human fleet continued toward the core worlds. Nothing could stop them now. The research vessel Enlightened Purpose had reached the Council's capital station when the human fleet arrived. Lead scientist Kethmara was in the middle of her most important experiment. She had connected electrodes to the children's heads, trying to map their brain activity. The data was extraordinary, beyond anything she had imagined.
"Oh."
"Their minds are incredible," she told her assistant Tethrin. "They process emotions and logic simultaneously, using parts of the brain that other species keep separate. This is why they adapt so quickly. This is why they are dangerous." Tethrin was not listening. He was staring at his screen, his face frozen in fear. "Dr. Kethmara," he said quietly, "the human fleet is here. Here." At the capital station, she laughed nervously. "That's impossible. The Council fleet would have stopped them." The Council fleet was defeated. In 9 minutes, Kethmara's laughter died. She looked at her assistant, then at the children in the white room. For the first time, she felt something she had not expected to feel: fear. The Council's capital station was the largest structure in the galaxy. It floated at the center of Council space, home to millions of beings from all 12 member species. It had shields that could stop asteroids. It had weapons that could destroy planets. It had never been attacked in 100,000 years. Now, human warships surrounded it like wolves around a wounded animal. Captain Li Guan stood on the bridge of the Silent Fury, staring at the massive station. Somewhere inside that structure was her daughter. Somewhere inside was a little girl who was scared and alone, waiting for her mother to come. "Captain," her first officer said, "General Yoon is asking for your plan." Giwan's eyes never left the station. "Tell him I'm going in alone." "Alone." "Captain, that station has thousands of guards. The most advanced security systems in the galaxy. I know." Jiwan turned to face her crew. "That station also has my daughter, and I made her a promise. She walked to the weapons locker and began putting on her combat suit. It was black and sleek, covered in technology that the Council had never seen. 3,000 years of human engineering, compressed into armor that could protect a single soldier against an army. Her crew watched in silence as she armed herself. 2 plasma pistols, a blade made of materials that could cut through any armor, grenades that could disable electronics in a 100-meter radius. "Open a path to the station," she ordered. "I'll handle the rest." The silent fury moved forward. The station's defenses activated, firing beams of energy that would have destroyed any normal ship. The silent fury's shields absorbed every hit without slowing. A single boarding pod launched from the ship. Inside, Captain Li Juan sat alone, her eyes closed, her breathing steady. She thought about her daughter. She thought about the promise she had made. The pod crashed through the station's outer hull and came to a stop in a cargo bay. Guards were already running toward the crash site. Weapons raised. One stepped out of the pod. What happened next would become legend. She moved through the station like a ghost. Guards fired at her, and she was not there. Doors closed in front of her, and she cut through them. Alarms screamed, and she ignored them. Security systems activated, and she disabled them without slowing down. One woman against thousands, and the thousands were losing on the station's command center. High Counselor Vrethkai watched the security feeds with growing horror. A single human was tearing through his station's defenses. She was not killing anyone, she was simply putting them to sleep, disabling their weapons, knocking them unconscious with precise strikes. "Stop her," he screamed at his security chief. "We're trying, High Counselor. She's too fast. Our weapons can't hit her. Our soldiers can't catch her. She's one human." "Yes, High Counselor. One human." Vrethkai felt cold fear spreading through his body. He finally understood what his ancestors had known 3,000 years ago. He finally understood why they had written the Accord. Not because they were generous, not because they wanted peace, because they were afraid. Lead scientist Kethmara heard the alarms and knew what they meant. The humans had come for their children. She looked at the data she had collected, years of research, discoveries that would change galactic science forever. Then she looked at the children in the White Room. Lee Soman was staring at the door. Her eyes were bright with hope. "My mom is here," she whispered. "I told you she would come." The door exploded inward. Captain Li Juan stood in the doorway, her armor covered in scorch marks, her weapons still smoking. She scanned the room, counting children. 14. All 14 were here. All alive. Her eyes found her daughter. Soman was crying, reaching out her small arms. "Mommy." Gi Yuan crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled her daughter into her arms. She held her tight, feeling the small body shake with sobs. "I'm here," she whispered. "Mommy's here. I promised, didn't I? Mommy always keeps her promises." Kethmara stood frozen, watching this human mother hold her child. She had spent years studying humans, trying to understand their biology, their brains, their evolution. In this moment, she understood something that no experiment could have taught her. Humans were not dangerous because of their technology. They were not dangerous because of their intelligence or their adaptability. They were dangerous because of this fierce and burning love that made a single mother cross a galaxy, fight through an army, and tear apart a space station to reach her child. "You made a mistake," Juan said quietly. "Still holding Saman, you could have attacked our worlds. You could have challenged our fleet. We might have negotiated. We might have found peace." Her eyes met Kethmara Sess, and the scientist saw something ancient and terrible in those human eyes. "But you touched our children. There is no negotiation for that. There is no peace for that." Outside the station, President Cho Yoonja's face appeared on every screen in council space. Behind her stood General Yoon Tai-woo, Admiral Kung Do-yeon, and the commanders of a fleet that now numbered over 1,000 ships. 3,000 years ago, we chose peace, the president said. We asked only one thing in return. One simple rule. One sacred promise. You broke that promise. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was hard as steel. Now you will learn what happens when you break a promise to humanity. The human fleet began to move. Not to attack. Not to destroy. To demonstrate, across Council space, every military installation went dark. Weapons stopped working. Shields failed. Ships lost power. The humans did not fire a single shot. They simply turned everything off. The message was clear. We could destroy you. We choose not to. This time, High Counselor Vreth Kai sat in his darkened command center, surrounded by dead screens and silent machines. His power was gone. His fleet was helpless. His station was controlled by a species he had thought was weak and forgotten. He had made the worst mistake in galactic history. And now, humanity was going to make him pay. Captain Li Juan walked out of the station with her daughter in her arms and 13 other children following behind her. Han Juno held Summon's hand, both of them smiling despite their tears. They were going home, and the galaxy would never be the same. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had stood for 100,000 years. 12 species had gathered here to rule the galaxy, to make laws, to decide the fate of billions of beings across 1,000,000 worlds. The walls were covered in ancient symbols of power and unity. The ceiling rose high above, decorated with lights that represented every star under Council control. Today, those lights were dim. Today, the 12 leaders sat in silence, waiting for a species they had ignored for 3,000 years. Ambassador Bei Sunho walked into the chamber alone. He was a small man, shorter than most humans, with gray hair and a kind face. He wore simple clothes, nothing like the elaborate robes of the council members. He carried no weapons. He brought no guards. He did not need them behind him. Visible through the chamber's great windows, the human fleet floated in perfect formation. Over 1,000 warships, each one more powerful than anything the council had ever built. They had not fired a single shot since the battle. They did not need to. Their presence was enough. High Counselor Vreth Kai stood to address the human ambassador. His voice was weak, nothing like the confident tone he had used before.
Ambassador Bei.
The Galactic Council welcomes you. We are prepared to discuss the recent misunderstanding. Bei Sunho smiled gently. It was a warm smile, almost friendly. Misunderstanding, he repeated. Is that what we are calling it? You sent soldiers to our world. You took 14 children. You connected machines to their brains. And you call this a misunderstanding? The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The scientists acted without authorization, Vreth Kai said quickly. They will be punished. The children have been returned safely. We can move past this unfortunate incident and return to the peace of the Accord. The Accord? Bei Sunho's smile faded. Let me tell you something about the Accord, High Counselor. 3,000 years ago, Ambassador Park Yuna came to this chamber and offered you peace. She did not do this because we were weak. She did this because she knew what we were capable of. She knew that if humans went to war, we would not stop until we had one. And winning would have meant destroying everything. He stepped forward, and despite his small size, every eye in the chamber was fixed on him. She chose peace because she was wise. She chose peace because she loved life. She chose peace because she believed that other species could be trusted to keep one simple promise. His voice hardened. You have proven her wrong. Vreth Kai tried to speak, but Bei Sunho raised his hand. I am not finished. For 3,000 years we lived quietly. We did not expand. We did not interfere. We built our civilization in isolation, and we were happy. But we never forgot who we are. We never stopped preparing for the day when someone would break the Accord. He turned to face all 12 council members. That day has come, and now there will be a new Accord. Not negotiated. Given. Chamber erupted in protests. Council members shouted about sovereignty, about rights, about ancient laws. Bei Sunho waited patiently until they were quiet again. You have two choices, he said calmly. Accept our terms, or face our fleet. We do not wish to destroy you. We have never wished to destroy anyone, but we will do what we must to protect our children. Always. He activated a display that appeared in the center of the chamber. These are our terms. First, your combined military will be reduced by 90%. You have proven that you cannot be trusted with power. The council members gasped in horror. Second, human observers will be stationed on every council world. We will watch you as you once watched us. We will make sure you never again threaten children of any species. This is outrageous, one council member shouted. Third Bay Sunho continued, ignoring the interruption. A new law will be carved into the foundation of galactic civilization. Not just for human children, for all children. Any species that harms a child of any race will face consequences that will make today look gentle. He looked directly at Vrethkai. Do you accept these terms? Admiral Kung Doyon appeared on a screen behind the ambassador. He was old and tired, but his eyes were sharp. The same eyes that had watched the border for 40 years. The same eyes that had sent the signal that woke humanity from its long sleep. The Admiral wishes me to remind you, Bei Sunho said mildly, that we are being generous. Council voted. The vote was unanimous. 3 months later, the galaxy had changed forever. Human ships traveled freely through council space. Human merchants traded on worlds that had never seen a human before. Human diplomats sat in council chambers across 1,000 star systems. The age of isolation was over. On New Busan, the colony world where everything had begun, a ceremony was held in the capital city. President Cho Yunji herself attended, along with Admiral Kang, General Yoon, and Captain Li Juan, who had been promoted to admiral after her rescue mission. 14 children stood on a stage, each one receiving a medal for their bravery. Han Juno tried to look serious and grown up. Lee Soman kept glancing at her mother in the audience and smiling. These children represent the best of humanity, President Cho said in her speech. They were taken from us, and they survived. They were frightened, and they stayed strong. They showed the galaxy what we already knew, that human children are precious beyond measure, and that we will do anything to protect them. After the ceremony, Admiral Li Guan sat in the garden of Han Murray's home. The old grandmother had invited all the rescued children and their families for a celebration. Giwan watched her daughter play with the other children. Laughing and running under the orange sun, Mireille sat beside her, holding a cup of tea. You were very brave, the old woman said. Going into that station alone? Guan shook her head. I was not brave. I was scared the entire time. But Salman needed me. What else could I do? Mireille smiled. That is what bravery is, being scared and doing it anyway. For love, they sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the children play. Do you think the council has learned their lesson? Guan asked finally. Mireille considered the question carefully. They have learned not to touch our children. That is enough for now. And if they forget again? The old woman's eyes drifted to the sky, where stars were beginning to appear in the evening light. Somewhere up there, human ships patrolled council space. Somewhere up there, observers watched and waited. Somewhere up there, weapons slept, ready to wake if needed. Then we remind them, Mireille said simply. We have always been good at remembering, and we have always been good at teaching lessons. Salman ran up to her mother and climbed into her lap. She was tired from playing, her eyes already starting to close. Mommy, she mumbled sleepily, are the bad aliens going to come back? Juan held her daughter close and kissed her forehead. No, sweetheart, they learned their lesson. And if they ever forget, Mommy will teach them again. Salman smiled and closed her eyes, safe in her mother's arms. Above them, the stars continued to shine. Watching over a galaxy that had learned a simple truth, humanity would do anything to protect its children. They had proven it 3,000 years ago when they chose peace. They had proven it again when peace was broken, and they would prove it again if they had to. The galaxy had been warned.